Hello and welcome to the Unlock Your Life Purpose Summit. I am your host, Lorna Moon, and today's guest we have is Rhys Thomas. Now, Rhys is a very interesting person. He's a visionary author, speaker, trainer, and coach, and he deals a lot with energy mastery, which is something that's very unique, and I did not know much about until I met Rhys. So I'm very excited for him to share his story with you and his purpose. Rhys?
Thank you, Lorna. Yeah, no, I'd love, thanks for having me on here. I so love your whole concept of the summit because I really, my foundational, my awakening was really beyond what we're taught as children. You know, the biggest lie we're ever taught I've realized is that we can become anything we want to become. And, but when you're a little kid, you realize you're just one thing. It's like this amazing thing, and this amazing thing can handle anything and loves everything and absorbs everything and becomes something greater every day until you realize that your parents are saying, you know, honey, you can be anything you want to be, which is really code word for don't be who you really are being right now. Be what we want you to be. Be a good little boy or a good little girl and behave like this and learn our religion and do our things and become successful in business. And we get programmed out of this sort of sense of purpose within us, which is just innate. Yeah. And so, you know, my journey. You want me to share with you?
I absolutely do.
Okay.
Because
so
what you're
like
doing is of how you got to where you are is always every bit as fascinating as where you are.
Okay. All right. So it all starts with that, and I really believe when psychologists talk about first of all, my name is Rhys Thomas, and I run the Rhys Thomas Institute of Energy Healing and Transformation, and the reason that I do that, and the reason I'm so passionate about that, and helping people reach their highest potential, which would be their life purpose, is that I lived the life. It was like what you were supposed to do. I was born into a relatively upper middle class family, and we're supposed to be successful, and you get out there and you do your work, and I became a top athlete. I studied all sorts of high performance. I played professional tennis. I studied 25 years of martial arts, and in this whole process, I became a teacher, a tennis teacher, a coach, and of top level athletes. And so I studied every possible way to achieve for myself my own physical ability, as well as for other people, psychology, nutrition, conditioning, you name it. And Wayne Dyer, Tony Robbins, it's like everything that was there. And I did. I became a good man, right? I was just a little boy. It was like, life is unbelievable. And I was like this dreamer. But then I learned at that time, like I said, at some point, a child has to make the choice between being who they really are, which is really non-form, not a boy, not a girl. That's a total paradigm, mental paradigm that we're brought into. And somehow that makes a difference between what you are. And there are rules about what you're going to do in life if you're ever going to be, quote, successful.
Yeah, successful.
And so success for me was, because I was also dyslexic. So I came into the world kind of a notch down and didn't really understand school. And that's one of the reasons I can teach, I think, what I can teach right now is because I wasn't indoctrinated into, I never understood why people were learning all this stuff, this math, this science, this whatever, because it was like, how is that going to help you play tennis? How is that going to help you enjoy your life more? It just leads to working. I'm looking at everybody in school and they're working so hard. I'm here to play. I'm here to sports after school. That's what I'm here for. And I never was sort of bought into that whole thing. And I think that's why I can do what I do. But eventually I did. Eventually the system breaks you down. Essentially, I learned in school that, you have to behave a certain way, and then you have to get a certain cliquey group, and then you get out of school and you have to get a job, and you have to be for me, I had to be a man and get married and have children and, be successful and make good money. And I did. I check every one of those boxes. And like everyone else, we all get at some point to a place where what we're doing in the world that proves that have value somehow doesn't fulfill us anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I, in my 30s, I was a successful businessman, entrepreneur, martial artist, family man, making good money. Really, there was nothing you could look at my life and say, you're not hitting it on all cylinders. And I could quote Wayne Dyer, and actually for a while I was speaking publicly and I was like, I'm going to be the next Wayne Dyer. And it wasn't until I hit sort of this, what I call the midlife calling, which is where your soul says, oh, you forgot me. In your quest to become something, you became something you aren't.
Midlife calling.
Right. And so the midlife calling is not the midlife crisis. It's actually the crisis comes when the soul says, hey, you forgot something essential.
Wow.
Me. And I had no idea what to do with that because I'd never done energy work. I mean, Wayne Dyer was the closest thing I could do to energy work. But I realized that I also had, I was living this perfect life, but I had chronic lower back pain, chronic sinus infections, chronic problems at work, my relationships. And yet on the outside, I was like, hey, everything's great, because I'm living the life I'm supposed to live. Isn't this the way we're all supposed to do this? I'm living the American dream.
American dream.
Right.
Wow.
But the truth was that I felt this deep unhappiness. I called it like, I realized that I was living a smile on my face, but behind the smile was like this quiet desperation that there was something huge missing. And just to handle my illnesses, I realized, well, doctors don't seem to be able to touch this. They seem to be making it a lot worse. So I started going to an energy healer. And this energy healer introduced me to this whole, a school, the 4-year training in energy medicine. And I was like, how hard can that be? I'm a black belt in the martial arts. I'm a professional athlete, and a coach and an entrepreneur. I'll go do that stuff. And when I got there, I realized that our energy is primary. And so I'm a coach that runs a school that teaches people to live at the highest possible level, whether they want to become healers or whether they want to become businessmen or go back to corporate and change the world or do whatever they want to do. I teach that, but I've realized that we have to have an inner awareness, an inner vision to be able to do that. And when I went to energy school, I realized that I had been living the life I was supposed to be, the life I was supposed to live, and not the life I was born to live. And in the school, they were using this work by Alexander Lowen and Wilhelm Reich, which was kind of like a healing modality of, it was kind of punishing to learn about, like, oh my God, I've got this wound and I've got this sort of what we call defense. But what I saw within that system was that there are actually, rather than saying that there's like an Enneagram and DISC and these other different modalities that you learn, your sort of like your predilections and the things that you can do well in life, those are all behavioral. And what I found in doing energy work, and this really deep full spectrum energy work, was that each of us have an energetic signature that has one of 5 human beings have one of 5 energy signatures. And we all know these people, right? We all, and I learned this about myself, and I thought I was this super achiever. I was like, that's what I'm gonna be. A man is supposed to be a super achiever. I thought I was gonna be Superman, a tough guy. And I never became a tough guy playing sports. I never became a businessman being an entrepreneur. What I did do is I did become a really good teacher because that's what I was born to do. I have this creative drive to teach and create and inspire other people to learn more. So I found out that I've been driven to do this success. But what really makes me happy, what fulfilled me instantaneously when I realized it, was I love to be creative. And I was being creative, but because my focus was, I literally had pivoted, I had looked the other way. My life purpose was over here, but I was always looking over here for it. And by learning the system and developing the system of 5 personality qualities, 5 what I call life purpose profiles,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that each of us have to know this deep quality and then realize that we're given the perfect energies to live that. So I don't know if your folks are familiar with chakras, but that was part of energy medicine, is
Mm-hmm.
really learning not only about the soul quality of the purpose, but also that you have each of these energy centers in your body that have to come into alignment with your purpose if they're going to work. And people that are sick constantly, or constantly going and getting their chakras fixed and things, the reason the chakras don't stay open and empowered and supercharged is that they get them all charged up by the healer, and then they go back and they try to live someone else's life again. And each of us have the chakras. The energy system we have is only designed to live one purpose. And if you don't know what
Mm.
that purpose is, you can never stay on track. You're always falling off the wagon. It's like, why is this addiction coming back? Why is my behavior why do I always go back to this argument with my mom? I mean, it's like I used to argue with my mom constantly. Once I came into my energy, it was like, I was realizing that part of that argument was just it was like, oh, this is what we like to do, rather than how dare she be constantly questioning me and my ideas, my whatever, that sort of thing. And so coming into your power is realizing that there are literally 5 species of people on the planet. We all know them.
Wow.
There are leaders,
Mm-hmm.
okay, who are super charming and inspiring and also trouble. They're the ones that are the most likely to, scream and yell and have big volatile energy, but they're leaders in the world. And then there are the people that are the achievers. They're like the triathletes. They're the ones that, that succeed at everything, have many, many letters behind their name, are super good at school, tend to run larger organizations and see how they have big picture vision. So we have leaders who are more like personally driven to succeed. And then we have achievers who are structurally organizers. And these are your most successful people in the world. And then we have people that are, and I'll talk about bodies in a second, but then we have people that are, by the way, this is all in my book, Discover Your Purpose. And I'll talk about that a little bit at the end. And of course, I wrote the book, Discover Your Purpose. And each of these qualities are so important to understand, because we know people that are incredibly inspiring and like make it big and then crash, and then make it big and then crash, because the leaders are not in it for the long run. They're in it for the passion. Whereas
Uh-huh.
the achievers, they start out something, they get the degree, they become the doctor, and they successfully move forward step by step and become a success throughout their whole life. And they build it piece by piece, and they're very organized and structured in their success. So 2 different types of successful people.
Hmm.
And then we have people that are more sort of warm and huggy, and, oh, come here, I want to hug you and let me help you. And whenever you're sick, they always show up with a casserole, and they're very selfless people. They literally are giving all the time. And they actually, they feel like, I can never say no. They're always like, oh, I can never say no to anybody. I'm always, it's like somehow their natural capacity is to be selfless and loving. But in their defense, there's issues there where they can't say no to anything, and they're always a slave to somebody. And so they have that. And by the way, the leader's defense would be sort of a volatility and a sort of blowing things up. The achiever's defense and negative side would be pushing themselves way beyond their limits, and then being incredibly critical of others who are not as successful and organized as they are. So they can be your tough inner critic. And we all have a little bit of each one of these. Don't forget, these are human traits, but one of these is why you're here on the planet. And if you don't know which one it is, you won't know how to run your energy. You won't know how to pick a job. You won't know how to pick a relationship. And you certainly, won't be able to manage your health in an easy way, because you'll be trying to run, usually like I did, I tried to run the achiever through, and I'll talk about what I'm next, which is the creative, right? So we have some people that are just super creative, and their energy's up here and it's all around. It's really more diffuse than focused. And they're the ones who are the artists and the teachers and the musicians and and they love anything new, and as long as it's new, they're happy. But with all of that creative juices, their defense tends to be anxiety and overthinking things sort of like getting stuck in too many decisions type of thing.
Uh-huh.
So that's another one. And then the final one is the deep feeler. And we all know these people, and it's like they come in the room and they're like, oh, can we turn the lights down a little? It's kind of bright in here. And they come and they touch and they'll be like, oh, I never go to a mall. There's too much energy there. I can't process that. They're not good in big groups. They're very much better one-on-one, having tea with you and soft, and they're lovers by nature. They're the ones that are the softest and the most sensitive people. And they've never hurt a fly. They've never screamed at anybody. They've never done anything. They're just gentle. And of course their defense is what we call it poor me, which is they just get overwhelmed by life. It's like, oh, really? He said that to me 3 years ago. I don't think I've ever gotten over it. So these 5 types of people, and we all know these people.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that no matter whatever role they play on TV, they're still that. The leopard spots never change. And by learning that quality within you, by knowing I was a creative person who also has a leader in me, right? I wouldn't be able to talk like this if I didn't have a leader in me. But what I'm talking about, what inspires me, is that I've created something brand new that nobody's ever seen before. Okay. And an achiever would rather than that, the achiever would assess the whole field and pick the most important thing that people could learn right now that's available. And they would then teach that. If they were rather than being a creative person, they're going to be a teacher this way. Charismatic leader is going to teach by inspiring you to just go out and do it. Just get out. Come on, you're going to make it happen. And they're going to teach. They would teach from that direction rather than, and again, it wouldn't necessarily have to be new. It would just be the latest, greatest thing. And I'm going to get you to motivate to do that. The deep feeler would teach by just saying, okay, feel your heart. Go deep inside. Feel those deep emotions. Okay. And then they would teach you, say, okay, so that's who you are. That's what you do. And no, it's not, all of these are true, right? And then the caretaker, the deep, the one who's there for you all the time, and the helper, which we call the team player, would teach by saying, by really asking you, well, what do you want to do? Can I help you? I'm going to help you get there. If you decide you want to do this, I'll teach you how to get that done. I'm going to show you that there's a way to get these things done. And so these 5 qualities that I thought I was this achiever, absolutely. And I came in and realized that I was really this creative person that loved to try lots of things. That's why I had done so many different elements and was following different people. And I never really realized, once you know which of these 5 you are, you can look back at your life and you can realize that everything that's ever happened to you, because everything is based on your energy and your law of attraction. So your energy body is literally a huge magnet. And the only thing you can ever attract is your purpose in life. So every person that's ever come to you, every event that's ever happened to you, and you've got people on here that, great speakers that have overcome the worst possible condition. And that worst possible condition led them to know who they were.
Yes. Because
it forced them to know who they were. And the problem is that the universe, it puts up with you trying to be somebody that you aren't for a period of time. And it gets out the 2x4. And this is the midlife crisis usually, or the massive, having, some illness or cancer or, whatever happens. The universe says, here's what I'm going to give you so you can wake up to who you really are. Because unless you wake up to who you really are, it's going to get you. And you're going to then, it's going to be a slow decline for the rest of your life. But most people don't do that. They realize some rug got pulled out from under me. I lost I know I saw on your little video, the marriage, the divorce, the job that just gets yanked out from under you, the COVID, right?
Yeah.
all of a sudden we've got all these people that are now realizing that this perfect little life that they had doesn't have a way to go forward because it was just a technique.
Yeah.
It was a technique that they were using. And that's why I'm not as big a technique person as a life purpose person, because techniques lead you to more techniques.
Yeah.
Whereas vision and life purpose and awareness of who you are is a constant move forward, and it naturally branches into other things throughout your life. Whereas a technique ends. So if you've got a job that's a technique right now, and it was a technique to make money and be secure and all that, and COVID comes, you're done. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa, what do I do now? And therefore your summit and all the work that I do in my school,
Yeah.
where it's like, once you know your purpose, you just realize it's just this COVID is just leading to another great element of that quality within me.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as healers go, it's only the thing you've healed within yourself that you can heal in others.
Yeah.
Because for everything, like for me, healing that I didn't know my purpose in life, and realizing, I went back and I worked with thousands of people as a tennis pro, thousands, and top level athletes and everything. And now thousands more, 10,000s of people through my school and through the work I do and in the energy work. And almost always when I start working with somebody, they're convinced they are a different profile than they are. And except for the achievers, who are like, of course I'm the achiever. But what they don't realize is that they're not the achiever. They're what we call the rule keeper. They're the discipline machine, which doesn't let them just enjoy their wisdom. It keeps them never, ever feeling like they've done enough. They're always like disappointed in themselves. I can do better. I can do this. And so
Guilty.
Right, and we all do all of these things at some level, you know. My achiever in me pushes me all the time. But when I realize that it's like I can feel it now, and then you have to do body work and understand how your energy works.
Mm-hmm.
But you can feel when that inner critic is coming in, and I can now say, okay, so my critic is telling me that I ought to be doing this right now, but my creative idealist, what I call my creative. So we have the creative idealist, we have the emotional intelligence specialist, the deep feelers, we have the team players, we have the knowledgeable achievers, and we have the leaders. We have the charismatic leaders.
Uh-huh.
And my creative idealist, when I'm like, well, what would my creative idealist do right now? It takes away the self-criticism of doing what I'm doing, because I realize that's going to inspire me. And to be stronger than an illness, to be stronger than a virus, to be stronger than anything that could ever happen to you, you have to access that soul quality. So many people, I work with so many people that are very successful at what they do, but they have this sort of like sense that sort of a hunger for something more connected, something more soul driven, more something deeper. And that's what the midlife calling is about. It's like that point where you can either double down and just go back to work and just make the rest of your money till you're 60 and retire and have a heart attack. Or you can say, I'm going to do some more yoga. I'm going to learn some energy work. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to start feeling my purpose rather than thinking my purpose, because nobody has ever thought their purpose, right? It's like, I always liken it to buying a new TV, right? There's a million of them at Best Buy.
Yeah.
And you go in there, and if you go in and you just go in and go, wow, these are so cool. And then you just watch them and you feel like, oh my God, this is the one I love. You will take that TV home and love it for the rest of your life. And you'll bring people in from the street and say, you see my new TV? Even when it's 3 years old, right?
Yeah.
But if you go in and you've got the paper and you've assessed it and you've analyzed it and you figure out, okay, this has got these things and that one's the newest thing and I can get that and do this, by the time you get it home and out of the box, you will be disappointed in it.
Oh yeah.
Because a newspaper article will come through, you'll see it on your phone, like, oh my God, the next one already came out.
I have the old one now, yeah.
I have the old one, I'm never gonna do it. And it's the same thing with your life. Once you allow yourself to feel your purpose in life, and I call it in my book, Discover Your Purpose, there's this little segment in there that I talk about your secret place. Your secret place is that, like I said, before you were programmed, before you made that impossible choice to be loved by your parents and by society rather than be you, which is where you
Mhm.
actually betrayed your soul. And that's, psychiatrists always talk about your core wound, and everybody says, well, it was when my dad, yelled at me or this or that. No, it was when you gave up on your soul and decided to be a little boy or a little girl that behaves in your life the way everybody else behaves to get along and get love. And we will trade anything for love. The problem is that at the midlife calling, we realize that nothing we're doing in our lives, no relationship, no job, no nothing that we're doing, gives us that kind of love, that soul love.
It
And
doesn't.
and when we feel these things that we do in healing work and transformation work and deep meditation work, which is what I train people in, and bioenergetics and sort of martial arts, qigong type of energies, when we feel that, like after you come off a healing table or after deep meditation, you're in that altered state.
Yes.
That altered state is not an altered state.
That's you.
That's your primary state. The altered state is thinking, I'm this. That's an altered state. That's your brain in that. And when you feel that soul feeling, that's what love is.
Mm-hmm.
Your connection, like when you were a child, children aren't running around going, I love you with this. I love you this way. I think I'm going to, if I love you, this will be, they're just our love,
Yeah.
right? And so our midlife crisis, our midlife calling is a call back to love, but not Hallmark love, not like I'm going to love you this way. That's never worked. That always leads to the divorce or the argument or the feeling
Mhm.
not misunderstood.
Yeah.
But really owning this feeling inside of you and realizing that that's love. And of course, love for a creative idealist is a great idea. Love for a deep feeler is just this melting quality within them. Love for a team player is loving you. Love for a knowledgeable achiever is, I got the vision. I've got the big picture. We can make this happen. We can build that skyscraper. And the love for the leader is passion. And when they're passionate about what they're doing, it's like they love through their passion. So
Mhm.
I mean, this was my journey, and now I've been, now I'm 60, and for the last 40 years I've been getting younger. I've been, I've found the love of my life. I've totally transformed my life. I travel around the world. I live in Spain half the year. Well, not now. We're pretty much locked down in COVID. But I've created a life that serves this creative, playful soul that I am, rather than this man, this boy that's supposed to behave like this and grow up like this and do these things. I no longer feel that call to that. I feel this creative sort of like desire. And everybody I work with in the school, we have it's 1 year at a time. There's three different modules. I teach people that you've got one purpose, and all these other things you've learned about yourself, you have to dismantle to get there. And once you get there, you'll just sit and go, oh, it was so easy. Why
They
did I
like
make it?
smack you in the forehead, right?
Why did I make it so hard? Because we're taught as soon as we gave up on our soul quality,
Mm-hmm.
everything became terrifying and impossible, because we had to prove to everybody that we're of value by what we do rather than who we are. And if you're over 40 years old and you aren't trying to find out who you are first,
Yeah.
it's going to be, you're going to find that you're getting worn down and worn down and worn down and more tired and older and more wrinkly, and rather than more passionate and more alive and living the life of your dreams.
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that fun? That was my journey to it. And I've always had a good attitude and a smiley, but trying to be who you aren't is a huge piece of what I teach is how does energy medicine create your whole health? Your optimal health. And I can tell you, after doing all this work, the number one reason for illness number one reason for illness is not knowing your purpose and running your energy the wrong way through your system. Because as I was an achiever, I then ran my chakras. I ran my body a certain way. I ran
Mm-hmm.
my emotions a certain way. I ran my actions a certain way. I ran my relationships a certain way. And they never felt like they were mine. They never felt like they had any, like something was missing. It was because
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't running the energy the right way through. So one last thing about these profiles
Yeah.
is that the difference between these profiles and all other systems, Enneagram, DISC, Myers-Briggs, those are all behavioral. People sitting around a kitchen table, Myers-Briggs, thinking, well, I guess these people behave that way. It must be a trend. It must be a trend. Let's just tell people that that's who they are. And
Uh-huh.
so they teach you that who you think you already are is who you are.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what if, if all you needed to know about my system was that there's a body type for every profile.
Ooh.
And think about it this way. Every person is born to win one Olympic game that maybe nobody else even knows about, right? So
Yeah.
for 7.5 billion people, there's 7.5 billion Olympic games. And you got the perfect body for that. And just picture that if you decided that you were going to be, your Olympic game was going to be swimming,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But you had a body like one of those little gymnasts. You got
Mm-hmm.
a 4'5" body with shoulders like this and legs this long that's
Uh-huh.
designed to spin and go, but gets in the pool and it's just floundering. You would never succeed at what you do. Your body is perfectly designed. Your body, your energy system, what I call the life purpose line, the martial
Mm-hmm.
artist train. I trained this all these years. These energies are designed to do one thing and do it better than anyone else in the world. You're getting, the reason I do the profiles is because it starts you on the path back to realizing that a leader has a very specific set of skills. An achiever has a very specific set of skills that are not learned. They're soul given, they're innate.
Mm-hmm.
And when you reconnect with that as part of you, that's just so effortless, like a child, it's like, oh, so I don't have to work at what I'm really born to do. And then I can start realizing every time I'm working my ass off at something, I'm probably moving in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And whatever you're passionate about, and it doesn't mean that, I mean, here we're doing this, you're doing the summit, you're doing this.
Yeah.
What we're passionate about sometimes is a lot of work, but
Yeah.
it never drains you because you can't get enough of it.
Yeah. That makes total sense.
And so learning that, just that one little thing, if you start recognizing, oh, your body, if you just looked at your body and said, how does energy move through my body? That's got to be a major element of my life purpose. Because the first thing, if you're going to master your body, you're going to master your life, first thing you have to do is master your body and understand that it's got one purpose in life and it's going to be great at that. And stop trying to be what everybody else wanted you to be and just say, okay, I'm good at that. My body has this tall, thin, vertical energy, and all the energy comes up into my head, comes down from spirit, and it's like, boom,
Mm-hmm.
I'm wired to bring that in. And I also have kind of like this competitive, I want to win edge. So
Uh-huh.
I've got my secondary quality is the leader. And
Mm-hmm.
so we kind of learn, oh yeah, so my body's got a little bit of these things, and I recognize that piece. And then of course that body, depending upon your profile, has a very specific kind of emotions, very specific kinds of ways you take action and can do things in the world. Certainly the people in your life, your relationships, and these are the masteries you have to have. You have to have physical mastery, emotional mastery. You have to have values. What do I put my effort into? What do I do in the world as mastery? And then relationship mastery. If you're trying to make a relationship work, it's probably the wrong relationship.
Yeah.
Right? Just period.
That's so true.
Your relationship should just be effortless. Like little kids in kindergarten aren't going around going, let's make this relationship work. They're like, I like that kid. I don't like that kid. Let's just, because they feel it. It's like, it's not
Yeah.
something you have to work through. So anyway, but we can go on and on, but I just wanted to share that this is what makes me passionate and has given me purpose in life to help other people find their purpose.
And you had a gift for the audience too that will actually help them get a head start on this, right?
I do. I actually have I have my book, which I'll give you. Both of my gifts are on Rhys Rhys is Rhys, thomasinstitute.com. And I have a short profile life purpose assessment. So you can take this quick, maybe takes you 10 minutes, and it'll give you one of those 5. It'll tell you which 5. It'll give you a readout, which one is primary in your life and which ones are sort of like your bit players in your life. Because knowing which one is number 1 tells you how you're supposed to run your energy, how you're supposed to do everything in your life. So, and that one is Rhys Thomas, www.rhysthomasinstitute.com.
And we'll have a button right below here so you can click on it and it'll take you right there.
It's /free quiz.
Yeah. I will have the button right below that will take you directly to it.
Nice.
You don't need to worry about your spelling. That's great. No, that's going to be super useful. I'm actually can't wait to take the quiz myself because I have an idea, but I'm like, oh, it could be this other one too. So now I'm really curious.
Which one do you think you are?
So I think it's either the leader or the achiever, because I am definitely somebody who flogs myself. You know, I have an MBA, like study all the things, like I cannot rest.
Yep.
But also I'm like on fire when I'm like passionate about stuff. So
right. So you'll probably come up as the leader and the achiever if you've got those strong in there as well. But think about it this way. You're actually the leader. Mm-hmm. But in our world, growing up, it wasn't okay for women to be bossy. It wasn't okay. It's like, boys, be bossy. It's like, really? What? You know, be a tough guy. That's why I did the martial arts. It was like, I'm supposed to be a tough guy. I'm so not that. I learned how to love through martial arts. I learned that I don't want to kill anybody. But for women, you have that, both the strong qualities. You could easily have stepped into the room and said, okay, folks, I'm in charge. Come on, do it this way. Let's go. But you had to then do it right. There's a way to lead that doesn't put you in that position where people are like, wow, she's stuck on herself, or she's, whereas guys, it's sort of expected that they do that.
Yeah.
So you use, and this is very common in business and successful women, is they will present themselves as knowledgeable. I've got the right thing. I'm making the right thing to do. Rather than coming in and saying, okay, everybody, let's get this straight. We're going to work as a team and do it my way. Okay? Right? Which a guy can say, but for some reason it's not allowed. So what ends up happening is that you may test higher on the achiever because you've done more achiever behaviors. Mm-hmm. But what I want you to really look at is it's just your passion that makes you do things.
Yeah.
And when that tough inner critic is on top of you, and you just say, okay, I'm just going to go out and buy a red dress. I'm going to go out and do something. I'm going to go out and have a great night with my friends. I'm going to play. I'm going to be, I'm going to let my passion out, and you get to go sit back there with your complaining, and criticism on your own.
Yes.
And practicing letting that energy flow more, and then realizing that combination of leader and achiever are the most successful people in the world, right? They're the biggest, they're the best athletes, they're the best business people, they're the best because they'll go for it, like you're doing with the summit. It's like you're going for it, and they can organize it at the same time. So
awesome. How exciting. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much for your insight, Rhys. This has been great.
Yeah, it's really fun. Love doing this work.
Love it. Great. Thank you so much. I just can't wait to see what I can't wait to hear the comments back from what people get out of this, because it's going to be fantastic.
Nice. Well, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.